everybody. I'm Audrey Moore with Audrey Helps Actors, and this is episode number 66, looking to fix your acting career in 2021. While you're still in quarantine, wherever you are, there's so much that you can do. Today we have Melvin Diggs on. Oh, sweet hero of my heart, Melvin Diggs. He's so amazing. He won some of the contests and competitions that happened that casting directors had held over the beginning of the quarantine. He is such a hard worker. He is so humble. He's so gracious. He's really hard on himself, but in a way that gets him to really get things done. I have seen him over the last several years at any of the live events that I would have. He's super active on social media. He's just like a get it done, whatever it takes kind of guy. And you know, I love that. So today we talk about Melvin's successes over the last couple of years. He really started listening to the podcast and adhering to the self-tape practice, watching his auditions transform, watching himself just start booking and getting some recognition, and then also having some bumps along the way. And we talk about those bumps. You know, I'm all about transparency with the bumps. So we talk about that. It's a really heartfelt and inspiring, honest episode about what it takes to really get some traction in this town. I also want to shout out your Apple Podcast reviews, formerly known iTunes. Jesse isn't letting me say iTunes. I only have to say Apple Podcast reviews now because apparently iTunes doesn't exist. So Apple Podcast reviews. I just want you guys to know, when you give me an Apple Podcast review, it's like somebody saying, Audrey, I'm going to drive you to the ocean today. I'm going to set up a tent for you to hang out in it and just watch the ocean. And by the way, the dolphins are coming. That's how exciting and relieving your iTunes reviews are to me. Really, truly, I get a lot of emails and I'm so grateful for them. For those of you on Instagram or emails who are sending me a big thank you, I love and appreciate that thanks. And you know where I appreciate it the most? On the Apple Podcast reviews. Those Apple Podcast reviews, truly, we read them. We rejoice every time we get a new one. We're like, Jesse, look. He's like, hey, did you see that new review today? That's my Jesse voice. Hey, it's right there. Did you see it? It's so great. We love them. Please keep posting them. They really mean a lot to us, and they do a lot to just help keep the show elevated and keep it in people's feed. And it lets Apple know, hey, these guys, they're serious contenders. We better let other people know about them. And then maybe they do. We don't know. Apple, it just works. Shout out this week to M. Tadero, Deb's Baby Love 1234, Vibian Quee, BW268, Beck Joshua 93, Heather Kate Duncan, Franny Poot 247, Stephanie Hodge, PP 844. All right, I appreciate you. Thanks, PP844. You're tops. This episode is brought to you by Greg Saffel at singinglessonslosangeles.com. That's singinglessonslosangeles.com. I've been doing my vocal exercises as part of my morning routine. Are you? I wake up, I do a bunch of things, and one of the final things I do in my morning routine is I start my Greg Saffel audio voice memo recordings that he has recorded with me during my lessons with him. So get your voices together. It's body and voice. Don't do 5 days of yoga and then neglect your voice. You are an actor. It is our bodies and our voice. It is also brought to you by Ava Evans. That's Ava Evans at hypnotherapylosangelesca.com. That's hypnotherapylosangelesca.com. Ava Evans. I have had many bouts of anxiety in my life, and at one point, I definitely had a experience of anxiety where I was having lots of panic attacks, and I don't have any fucking time for that noise. So finally, I went to go see Ava after reading a ton of reviews about her success and how successful she was at all kinds of things, including panic and anxiety. I really was skeptical. I was like, hypnotherapy, I don't know, whatever. You know, I'm desperate. I'll give it a go. And after my first session with her, I went from having 14 a day. I had one more after my first session with her. And then I never had a single panic attack again. That was several years ago. So if that sounds like relief to you, give it a go. So I hope that you got a self-tape request and that you are going to go crush it. It is going to be undeniable, your performance, and that you are going to book it. Book it! Book off a tape, man. Book off a tape. If you're a person who has this mantra for yourself of, I don't book off of tape, I want you to stop it and start changing your mantra to, I book off of tape all the time. It works. Book it.
Audrey helps actors because they don't know anything.
Hi, everybody. I'm Audrey Moore with Audrey Helps Actors, and today we have...
Melvin Diggs.
What's up, Melvin?
Hey.
Hey, I'm so excited that you're here.
Yeah, I am glad to be here.
You have been a longtime listener to the podcast. I've seen you at all of the events I've ever had. You've been very active in your own social media in terms of like your self-tape practice and your just continual commitment and pushing of the work. You reached out to me on social media maybe like 2 or 3 months ago because you were starting to get some like momentum and some acknowledgement and some movement. Then I felt like it was a good time for us to maybe have you on and talk about that. And also, if you want, we could talk about some leveling up things. I think people are hungry for a level up episode. And this mini series I'm doing with actors is really, during COVID, is really to give some like inspiration to people about tell everybody if you're repped, if you're union, if you like how much you normally audition in a year pre-COVID, and what if there's a commercial or theatrical or voiceover, like what does your landscape look like?
Okay, so I am repped. I am union as well. Audition-wise, it varies over the years. There was a year, I believe in maybe 2016, 2017, I went out a lot. I believe, I want to say roughly about give or take. Actually, that was in 2016. I went out about 20 times. And then in 2019, I went out about 40 times. And then when COVID hit, of course, everything just kind of
dropped a little.
Yeah. And towards the end of 2018 is actually when towards the end of 2019 is actually when I felt like I was gaining momentum. I remember emailing my reps after an audition and just telling them that, hey, I don't know what happened, but something switched and I just feel so good about things. And literally, I think I had 8 auditions after that. I think it was like 3 producer sessions, a director session. So I was feeling good. And then 2020 hits and beginning, I booked a show. Awesome. And then COVID.
I know.
and so everything just kind of, it died down, and I guess I'm in a position now where I just feel stuck, Yeah, so
I love this conversation because I think how you feel is how a lot of people feel, which is this word stuck, right? Like, what can I be doing now is how everyone sort of feels, because you had this momentum and this sort of dance between like surrendering and being resolved to like the way things are, but also wanting to keep whatever momentum going that you can keep.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Even when, COVID did hit, I appreciate casting, because they were putting on all these other events and I ended up winning monologue contests, which again, I felt like, oh yes, okay, a little momentum. This is going to be great. That was in April. And then in May was, self-tape May. And I'm really feeling like, okay, yeah, I'm feeling good. And then all of a sudden, done. Things are just, it's quiet again. And so when it's this weird feeling I have now and I just don't know exactly what to do. I'm feeling a little bit lost.
I'd love to talk about this because, what you're experiencing, I have to say, is like the actual reality of being an actor that I don't think you can teach people until they've experienced it, which is like you get momentum, you get heat, you think that's going to like mean something and then it's dead. And then you get momentum and you get heat and you think that's going to mean something and then it's dead. And my favorite, I'm a huge stalker on IMDb. I love looking at people that I remember had heat in like 2012 or 2014. And I remember like had these careers that I was like so jealous of. I would be like, oh my God, like I can't believe they got these opportunities and that's so exciting and so cool. And then that actually didn't translate really to the career that I thought it would translate to for them, right?
Yeah, it's so weird.
It is very weird. And I think it's that thing that Adrian, my agent, and when he came on, he had said that one of the things he really loved about that I acknowledged on the podcast that he finds to be really true is that you think like it gets easier the further you go because you feel like you've got this momentum behind you. And in fact, he feels the opposite is true, that it becomes more competitive. And as it becomes more competitive, you're rising into a level of people who like, now that you have your co-stars, they all have 6 guest stars and 2 series. Yeah. And now you're trying to get into their group. And then once you try to get in, then once you get your series, you think like, oh, okay, now I'm going to get my next series. But now you're up against people who have multiple Emmy nominations, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, you're always kind of best suited for the level that you're trying to leave.
Yeah, I absolutely feel that. I feel like I'm stuck in co-star land,
We're going to talk about that.
I want to get to guest star, but it's like, I mean, you're absolutely right. I see everybody, honestly, a lot of friends that I have back and look at some of their, their IMDb and they have some series, people that I met in class and now they're getting guest star work. And I'm just like, wow, what do I need to do?
I know. And I just want you to know what do I need to do in my experience is the permanent like mantra of an actor's life. It's like, what do I need to do to fill in the blank? And once you can and it does get easier because as you sort of last long enough and have enough friends who are all kind of in the working category, there is a lot of camaraderie in that, honestly, because people are just like, yeah, no, I feel ya. I mean, I remember one of my closest friends and I was talking to her about like these auditions and I was going and I was fucking killing and I just like still wasn't booking. And I thought she'd have some answer for me. And she goes, yeah, it's fucking rough out there. I was like, oh no, that's I thought you were gonna be like, just do this. And instead you're like, yeah.
Thanks for the motivation.
Rough. And I was like, cool. That's awesome. Thanks. So I want to tell everybody about this thing that happened when you had reached out to me on Instagram and you were sort of talking about just some attention that you were trying to get and some people who were reaching out to you. So tell everybody a little bit about what that was and tell everybody about some of the things, the adjustments you've made between, 2017 and 2019 that got you from some auditions to lots of auditions to these last, maybe October 2019 till February 2020 that you felt like, oh, I'm starting to get it. I'm starting to get some jobs. I'm getting some momentum. What are some of those elements that helped to put that in place for you?
I think the momentum I felt when I reached out to you a couple months ago was from the monologue contest I had won. Erica Green, I mean, she is a great casting director as well as a human, She put on this contest because, COVID hit and I'm sure like, all the actors, I mean, myself, we was feeling like what can we do? And so she put on this contest and I was one of the winners. From there, I had a conversation with April Webster. That was part of, awesome. She actually chose me as a winner. And so I spoke with April.
That's not a bad relationship.
No, not at all. She is great. And I mean, we Zoomed for an hour.
That's awesome.
I think from there, she kind of just let me know that my monologue was floating around. I was like, really? So yes. I think from there, once people saw because Erica put the monologue on her website as well as Instagram, and I think, all of her followers, casting and agents, managers, I'm sure they looked into it. And one of the reasons I wanted to reach out to you was because I wanted my next manager that I land to be someone that I have for a long time. I want the relationship. And so I was like, hey, before I make any decisions, I want to reach out to Audrey and see what she says about it. Where I transitioned from when I first started to where I am now, I think it took me like maybe 15 auditions before I booked my first theatrical role. And I thought from there, oh yeah, this is going to be a piece of cake, you know?
Yeah.
And then I don't know how many auditions later it took for me to book again.
Yeah.
And then it took even a longer time. And then there was the year of 2017, I believe it was 2017 or 2018, where I didn't even work. I was just starting to be honestly really depressed. And then I came across your podcast and I was like, what is this? And where has it been? And when you mentioned self-taping all the time, Monday through Friday, and I was like, well, okay, this is someone who is psycho if she's self-taping Monday through Friday, but I am psycho just like that. So let me do it. And honestly, I did that I literally dropped out of classes and I just self-tape Monday through Friday majority of the time. So it wasn't Monday through Friday all the time, but I ended up self-taping I self-taped so much. I'm like, every time I would ask my roommate, every time I would ask friends, I'm sure they got tired of me. And that's what transitioned into 2019 when I just feel so much better going into auditions and pretty much I feel like I know what I'm doing now versus back when I booked my first job. I kind of felt like it maybe had been beginner's luck. Now I feel like I know what I'm doing. However, not as many opportunities are coming, which,
Yeah, or the level of opportunity that you're looking to gain is now of a different quality. I mean, I love so much of what you just said, and I just want to sort of hash out some of what you just said. I love that you said you did all these self-tapes and then that just made you feel like you knew more of what you're doing. What I particularly love about that is, as you know, I have a lot of feelings about actors just throwing money at shit. Yeah. I think there is just like a lot of people willing to take your money in this town, right? Like if you want to give it, a lot of people will take it. And I'm not against that. And in a lot of ways, I think like there are people out there who can really help people. And I think that's great. But also, I really think that a lot of people are qualified and need to just do the work. They need to, when I started this self-tape practice, I just felt like that's something that I can do every day and it's not going to cost me money. Yeah. I needed to just like spend the time doing it and see like what I could see what I could notice. What do I notice? Do I notice anything? And I feel like and listen, I'm a huge fan of deliberate practice, and a big part of deliberate practice is working with people who are skilled in the area that you want to go, right? So like if you have a desire of doing comedy and you don't have your hours in comedy, then it might be valuable for you to work with somebody who has, and this is an important part of deliberate practice, a proven track record in success in actors in comedy. So not just any teacher, but somebody who's like, I've proven that when actors work with me on comedy, they book comedy. Yeah,
I think that's a lot. I think that's where a lot of actors, especially myself in the beginning, that's where I was going wrong, because if I wanted to work on my auditioning, I'm in a scene study class, you know, and it's like, I should be giving my money towards, an auditioning class versus a scene study.
And I think where it gets tricky too, is like a lot of people want to get to the audition and booking and actually aren't trained yet enough in their facility, which is what scene study class will give them. And that's why it's like really hard to know what the fuck you're doing, because you can be in scene study class and really should be in audition class, but you're in scene study class, or you're in audition class and you really should maybe actually just be in scene study class because your instrument needs more work.
Yes.
But wait, Melvin, wait, you sweet dear heart. I have to interrupt you.
Help me. I need some help.
And now it's time for listener questions.
I'm so scared.
This listener question is brought to you by Greg Saffel at singinglessonslosangeles.com. That's Greg Saffel, singinglessonslosangeles.com. As I said in the intro, I am spending every morning in my morning routine working on my vocal exercises. I have lots of vocal exercises that I have worked on with Greg. We have recorded them in voice memos. He emails them to me, and I work them. I work them. I do not have time for my voice to not be at tip-top shape. I am in the Olympics, and I have my body and my voice as my tools to compete, and I'm keeping them in tippity-top shape. Like I said, don't be like, I'm going to just do so much yoga this week, and then I'm not going to my voice at all, and then I can't manage any emotional strength because I just am not breathing at all. So breathe. Cry on voice, even better. We're actors. So Greg is wonderful. SingingLessonsLosAngeles.com. Whether or not you need him for singing or just for general actor voice work, he can help you fix your vocal fry, improve your strength and diction, articulation. I'm looking at you, Brandon. Get your voice to match your casting and or change your casting. Eliminate nasality, releasing tension from your voice, accent reduction. And if you want to be singing, go for it. Be singing. He's great for people who are really experienced. If you've had lots of voice teachers and you are a seasoned vocal pro, as well as people who are brand new, little newbie beginners. It's a really safe space. He is so kind. He's so caring. He's really quite affordable. And I couldn't recommend him more highly. SingingLessonsLosAngeles.com. If you have any listener questions, please contact me at 667-ACTOR-70. That's 667-ACTOR-70 for all your listener question needs.
Hey, Audrey, what's up? This is Alex. I'm in San Francisco right now. And I was just listening to your newest episode with Alexandra, then that got me back onto your episode with Buckley. I've worked with Buckley. She's amazing. Definitely would say that every actor should invest in that. And I just had this question as I was listening. You guys are talking about, wear the shirt that you wore in your headshot to the audition, and then if it works, wear it again to the callback. Well, in 2021, weirdly, that's where we are, but nowadays everything's self-tape, and I don't really know, on Actors Access, what headshot my agents and my reps are using that's getting me the audition. So I'm curious, is there a workaround on the system to figure that out, or, do you ask your agent or your reps, hey, which headshots are you submitting me for this audition specifically? I think that we all have a number, whether it's 2 to 3 headshots or sometimes even more, but one is, the sleek black look and the other is something different. And I often ask myself, what headshot did I get submitted for, with this audition? So curious how you navigate that and what it looks like. Thanks for all your help, and one love. All the best.
Hey there. I'm so glad that you asked this question. This is something that I struggle with less. The further you get in your resume, the more you just kind of have a couple cool shots up there, and they don't really have as much to do with getting you the audition. It's really your relationships and your reps' relationships and your footage that get you in. But it's true when you're beginning your acting career that, these headshots are really the calling cards to whatever you're auditioning for. I always, when I was in this place, just asked. I just said, hey, can you tell me which headshot you used to submit for this role? And sometimes I will, maybe ask my reps, did you send a headshot along with the reel or whatever, if I'm just sort of wondering what's happening. But definitely ask your reps. I really recommend working with somebody on having a few looks, whether or not that's hiring somebody, whether that's somebody that's skilled at that skill. But a lot of people, they just need some help. And if you have a young dad comedy headshot, then you probably want to have a young dad comedy outfit. And if the audition is for young dad in a comedy, you don't even necessarily need to ask your reps. I would say ask them if you don't know, if it's not obvious. If it's some bad boy and he's so edgy and so cool as the character, then I would dress for the part in that way. If it's a nurse, then I would dress for the part in that way. probably don't need to email your agent if it's like an edgy bad boy. You can probably just dress like the edgy bad boy. However, if you are not sure and if you really want to make sure that you help be the best that you can be and get the job with every avenue available to you, including looking right for the role, there's zero harm in asking your reps what headshot they submitted for that role. So ask your agents. Do some thinking first. Just do some category deciphering and deciding first. And then if you can't figure it out on yourself, please ask your reps. I used to do it all the time.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
What I love about you doing this self-tape practice for yourself is that for a lot of it, it's like if you were a marathon runner and you're going to go from marathon running to sprinting, then before we do any of that, we got to make sure that you run. Like, can you run? Right?
Absolutely.
And like, you've never ran, and then you're going to hire a coach to try and teach you how to do sprinting. Well, maybe we need to make sure you've even just sprinted before. Have you even tried to sprint? Right?
Exactly.
Like, do you know what that is, right?
I think that's, I know I tried to do it backwards, and I've played sports all my life, and being an athlete, I know that when you put in the work, that's when you see results. But it's like, I'm so nervous and scared I was so nervous and scared to take what I've learned from sports and bring it over to acting. And one person who actually, she banged that into my head is Amy Landon. And I know you studied with her.
Love her. Yeah.
Literally, she is, everyone who's listening, I will say, Amy Landon, go see her like right away.
But again, let's talk about proven track record, right? Why she's been on my podcast twice, she's the only teacher I've had on twice, is because she actually has a proven track record of taking actors who are talented and turning them into working actors, right? So like bridging the gap between somebody who can act and somebody who will book jobs. Like she actually has a very proven track record of filling in that gap for people. You know, one of the essential components to deliberate practice is that it's kind of sucks in the beginning, because if you were good at it, you wouldn't need to then go practice it, right?
Oh my gosh, it sucks.
And so tell me then, in your self-tape regimen, what was some things that you felt like areas of growth or reflection or understanding that you had through the process of that practice?
I think one of the main things that helped me was I would self-tape old auditions, old shows off Showfax, and then I would go back and watch. I would go back and see, okay, well, look how much easy this actor is doing versus it feels like I'm forcing, I'm pushing. Recognizing the ease, the tone of work. A lot of people say, oh, well, do you know the tone of the show? Do you know the tone of the show? And I used to be like, oh, yeah, I get what you're saying. And honestly, I really didn't understand until self-taping and then going back and watching the shows. I believe that helped me out a lot, as well as just getting in a rhythm of, I used to have a hard time memorizing. And it's because I didn't know like how to memorize I didn't know what I was saying, what I was doing. And then I think the practice helped me out. It's not just about memorizing. It was just about knowing what I'm doing. And with self-tapes, self-taping so much, it becomes kind of second nature. And for me, it was like just setting up my lights, figuring out the camera placement, my angles. It just gave me confidence, a lot more confidence to go into the room. And I remember it was a General Hospital audition, and that's the one that I ended up getting the director session from. But I just remember coming out of that audition and feeling like, what the fuck just happened? Why do I feel so good? Why do I feel so alive? And then the next day there was confirmation because, it was, hey, they're calling you back in for a director session. That's when I knew, okay, it's definitely the self-taping, because
it's working.
Even before that audition, I self-tape, and that's another thing that I'm doing. Yes. I heard you say it. I heard you say it in a podcast, and I was like, I don't know why I wasn't doing that anyways. And so I started self-taping before these auditions. And I mean, there's a level of confidence when what you're going to be doing when you go into the room. And again, I come from sports background. So if I'm taking shot after shot playing basketball, then I know that last second left, I can pull up, take a shot, be confident, me making that shot.
Some of what you just said too about the sports background, I have to say fucking athletes and also people who are military and dancers.
I am both.
Like, oh God, see? Thank you, sir, for your service. When you
my dad.
Oh, your dad. Okay, good. Thank your dad for his service. When you come from military or athletics or dance, there is an awareness of what discipline and grit means, right? And I find those, and that's not just me, scientifically, it's a proven component to mastery that you have to have some grit, you have to have some tenacity, and you have to be willing to continue to commit to do the work to get the growth when it sucks, right?
Yes.
And it gets easier when you have more experience of the success of that, which is why I think dancers and athletes and military get that, because they understood that already with something else. And what's hard with actors, I think, is a lot of us started acting and getting through the grit part of just the acting when we were 7. And like a 7-year-old has more resilience than anything. And so you don't remember the 7-year-old in you who was just like really frustrated because that was that thing. But then when you have to translate your acting skills to your audition booking skills, the frustration feels very real. And speaking of Amy, like I had a friend of mine who had stopped working with her, and I asked her why, and she's like, well, I was just like leaving every time in my car crying. And I was like, yeah, I think that's right. And she looked at me and was like, oh,
what?
Yeah.
Right?
And I was like, yeah, that was my experience. My experience is it was very humbling and really devastating. And the self-tape practice, I also love what you said about it in terms of the going back and watching, because, and I don't know about you, but for my work, I have definitely found I have an idea of how it went. Sometimes, always what I do is I hold on to it and then I track it to see when it comes out. And then I'm looking at what I did versus the person who booked the job. And I'm not like necessarily looking for like better acting or any of that. I'm like looking at like why they cast that person. Why did what they do tell the story so effectively that they were the person that got cast? Yes.
Yeah. That's my biggest, I don't know how many times I may have hounded you about story.
You were like, please, Audrey, give me a story episode. Yeah. I got you one though, didn't I? We got more coming. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Story is literally, to me, I think that is, it's the most important thing.
It is.
I don't think anyone will get hired if they don't tell the best story. And it's key in everything. And I think I'm starting to get a better understanding of story, but I'm still not quite there. I'm still not quite there.
Yeah, I think we have some stuff to talk about. And then also, I want to talk about big thing that I hear, because I hear through the grapevine, that you crush a fucking workshop. I want to talk a little bit about workshops and your experience with them, because I think a lot of people want to know if they are valuable. Do they work? Who cares? Do people get called in?
Someone said I crushed a workshop?
Yeah, I hear you crush workshops, period. I hear Melvin's great in the workshop.
That's first to me.
Yeah, it's good.
Thank you, whoever said that. I truly appreciate that. Workshops was a little bit weird. It was good, and then it was weird, because of everything that went down. But my first experience as a workshop, taking a workshop, this was maybe back in 2015 or 2016. Sure. I took a workshop. We had I want to say counselors or something at this particular place where the workshop was. And my counselor ended up emailing me saying that, hey, such and such casting said that you were a standout of the night. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. I don't know what that means. And then literally, I'd say roughly a month, 2 months later, I got called into that office.
Yep.
And so I was like, okay, maybe this works. Tried another workshop. Nothing happened from there. And then the whole, whatever came down with, yes. And so I didn't do a workshop for a very long time. And then when I was ready to start workshopping again, I talked to someone. He kind of talked me out of doing them. And I regret that because I should have, and then until I finally reached the point, I was like, hey, Audrey keeps stressing workshops. I had success from one, so why not? And I've done a few workshops now, and they have actually been really, really good. And I think I stopped, honestly, it wasn't just because of the friend who told me not to, but I think it was because of my confidence level. And again, self-taping has really, really boosted my confidence. And so that's why I was really like, you know what, let me try workshops again. And honestly, I think that they are golden. To be honest with you, it's everyone says the whole, pay for play, but honestly, to me, that's not what it's about. It's about, look, I love acting and I want to show you that I can act. If you like me, please call me in. If not, I'm going to continue to work.
Totally. I mean, I want to be really clear with everybody that it's not necessarily workshops, it's extroverting your talent. And getting your talent in front of people who are in the position to give you jobs now or in the future. And so, listen, if you want to do shows at Second City, if you want to have a really great sketch presence on Instagram, like whatever it is that people see your work. Also, I was able to work out so much of my nerves too. Yes.
Oh my gosh. Yes. That is like something key that look, if people feel like, it's pay to play, which honestly, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think it is. Do it so you understand the nerves. I wouldn't necessarily say overcome your nerves, but dealing with your nerves.
Managing them.
Yeah, managing your nerves. And you're going to have nerves. People think that you won't, but you are going to have nerves. No matter to me, no matter how many times even me playing sports, playing football and basketball all the time, every game day I had nerves. It's just something that's going to happen. And these workshops definitely helped out with my nerves.
Okay, great. So now let's talk about you and where you are now and then growth, right? So you had said, and I could see this on your resume, that you're kind of like in Co-Star Village.
Yes.
And how do we get you out of Co-Star Village and into guest star series Regular Land? But wait, Melvin, wait, you sweet dear heart. I have to interrupt you.
Help me. I need some help.
And now it's time for listener questions.
I'm so scared.
All right, this listener question is brought to you by Ava Evans. That's Ava Evans. She is at hypnotherapylosangelesca.com. That's hypnotherapylosangelesca.com. Okay, tons of 5-star reviews on Yelp. One, I'm sure, is from me. She's been doing hypnotherapy for over 16 years. Hypnotherapy is really great for helping people with all kinds of issues that interfere with your confidence, your passion. For a lot of people, motivation right now is a really big thing. Fears, phobias, from auditions to going to the dentist is a real big. Dental phobia is super real. Anxieties that you might have. I don't know, maybe we're a little anxious right now. Maybe we need some help. Relationship strategies, moving on, loss, building confidence, weight loss is a big thing, quitting smoking. Please, everyone, quit smoking. I mean, smoke weed if you got to, but stop smoking and stop with the vapes. Ava has been doing hypnotherapy for 19 years. She's very intuitive. I had a tremendous amount of success working with her. I'd gotten myself into a real anxious spiral. I hadn't had panic attacks since college. And then a few years ago, suddenly they were like, surprise, I'm back. And it was a lot to do with my digestion of the grief and loss of my brother and his death. And I was really struggling in terms of getting my anxiety under control. And I had therapy and I was doing all of the things and still couldn't quite kick the panic attacks. And finally, I started seeing Ava out of a desperate, please, God, anything. And I saw her for one session. I had one more after that and saw her for a second session and haven't had a panic attack since. So I couldn't recommend her more highly for any of those needs. That's hypnotherapylosangelesca.com. That's hypnotherapylosangelesca.com. Again, please give me a call at 667-ACTOR-70. That's 667-ACTOR-70.
Hey, Audrey, this is Jazzy Jackson from Columbus, Ohio. My question is, can you get a reputable agent outside of this? I live in Ohio, so can I get a reputable commercial agent in L.A. while still living in Ohio? Thanks. Love your show.
Hey, so the answer to your question is no. No, you cannot. Especially during COVID, there is not an agent that is reputable in Los Angeles who is going to take you if you live out of state. Right now, you have a quarantine period of, I believe, 10 days in the state of California. So if you come into California, you have to quarantine for 10 days. And even people who are seasoned commercial actors here in Los Angeles, if you go out of town, you're pretty screwed. You have to be in LA right now in order to shoot these commercials. They're in LA. You have to be here. I literally just today interviewed a commercial agent for more episodes in the future. And I asked her this question for you, and she just shook her head. No, 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 no. The best way to book commercials, honestly, Los Angeles is the commercial capital. It just is. It's where most of the commercials in the U.S. are shot. I actually moved from New York, and part of the reason why I had moved was I was doing okay commercially in New York City, and I found out 70% of the commercials book and are shot out of Los Angeles. And I was like, well, gotta go make that fat commercial cash money. So here I am in LA.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
And like, how do we get you out of co-star village and into guest star series regular land?
Yes, that has been, oh my gosh, it's such a, I think, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to think because I still get,
what are
co-star
your thoughts?
auditions.
What are your thoughts on why it is that you have co-stars and you haven't yet? What are the reasons that it could be that you have co-stars and you're not yet consistently auditioning for or booking guest star or hire?
Honestly, one of my thoughts, there's like a million thoughts in my head.
Yeah, so give me a few of them. Yeah,
I'm thinking, okay, is it my reel? Is it my headshots? I do have a couple of 1 to 2 liners, co-stars. I mean, there's so much that I think, is it sometimes the energy that I'm bringing? Do I need more training? There's just so much that goes through my head. And one of the things that April Webster mentioned to me when we talked, first of all, she was like, yeah, I see you do have several co-stars. And she was like, the next co-star you get, first of all, try not to do co-star. She didn't say try not to, but she was just saying, if it is a no name, if it's like a,
customer number
ballet
2.
number 1. Yeah. She was like, get your reps to change that to a name. And then.
So let's talk, because all of what you just said, not one part of you mentioned, and I find this to be surprising, like a very real thing that happens called racism that I'd love for us to talk about. It's like,
I actually, okay. I will say this. If you look at the spreadsheets I sent you with all my auditions,
he gave me all of his statistics, you guys, and then he gave me the names of the actors who've booked the jobs he's auditioned for.
Yeah, so I think race absolutely could play a role as well. But then I asked, well, and maybe I'm maybe ignorant to it, but then why am I being called in for it?
What I see, and this has been something I've seen for a long time, and I don't think it. I think you could just look at any IMDb page, really, is that, so you have like a main cast and you largely have, say, 6 to 8 lead characters. And often within that 6 to 8, 4 or 5 of them are Caucasian. And then the remaining 2 to 3 are diverse, right? And so this is where you get what Brittany Young had talked about of like an inner fight of diversity, of like, they're only going to cast 3 diverse people. And so then there's this inner interesting war that happens.
Yeah.
And something that then I've seen for many years is you have this lead Caucasian cast, and then the roles that are smaller to fill that out are often diverse. So that inclusion is part of it, but it's not, but the lead cast is still Caucasian. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I mean, looking back on the spreadsheets that I sent you of all my auditions, I do, when I look back and see who booked it, not just one particular officer, a lot of other roles where, I'll say the person who booked it was non-Black, he wasn't Black. And it's very, very interesting. I never wanted to use that as a reason.
I think that's good. In terms of like, you don't want to sit on excuses. I get that. I totally get that. But I do think that it's important to not feel, I'm all about people seeing something so that they can not feel like it's like there's a fault with them so much as like something that they need to know about so they can overcome it, right? Like one of my favorite examples is actors in New York who do comedy are always like, I just can't book. I can't book. And I'm like, well, there's 4 comedies in New York and there's 38 in Los Angeles. So you're not the problem. You're not in a comedy market. And so the reason you're not booking comedy isn't because you're not funny or there's something wrong with you. It's because there's 4.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
And so I'm just sort of looking at that. So what are your thoughts about what I just said?
I definitely, again, looking at my auditions, I definitely see it. I think that some of those roles definitely could play. It could have been a reason. My only thing is, so what do you do about that? Yeah.
I think it's really great. It's so great. I love this question. Let me ask you this question. Of all of the jobs that you have booked, like that you've booked and gone and shot, do you know how many of the leads that you were opposite were Caucasian?
Let me see. I do not know all of them. Maybe all of them.
Oh my God.
Maybe, yeah. Just thinking about major crimes, yes. Lethal Weapon. I'm sorry, I'm just going through.
No, I want you to go through it. Yeah.
The Goldbergs, Wow, this is like, this is eye opener, Comedy Bang Bang. All of the opposites, they were, yes. Oh
they
my
were
gosh.
Caucasian.
Yes.
What does that say to you? Do you know what that means? Do you know what to make of that yet?
No, I don't know what does it mean?
It's so many things, right? When Ryan Murphy made his mandate that 50% of his cast and crew is going to be diverse or female, what was so big about that discussion, about that mandate, was that it was an actual number. It was calculable, that he was like, this is a priority and we're going to hit this number.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing.
Beautiful thing. So that it wasn't just good intentions. Because I think when we're talking about getting up the ladder, I do notice a lot that, exploitation. So it's really easy to exploit a group when you've held the door shut for them for so long. Because then when you open up the door, you're like, all right, well, come in, but we're not going to pay you anything and we're not going to treat you well, right? And it's like, I'm just happy to have a job, right?
Okay, let's do it. We haven't been able to,
My experience in terms of co-stars, as long as you will continue to accept co-star billing, they will continue to give it to you.
So then comes if I say no, then
it's a choice.
I'm going to get even less auditions,
It's a very hard choice that actors have to come to at a certain point. And also, I want you to know, like, crazy stuff happens. Like, I technically didn't have a guest star before I had Godless. But I had roles that were guest star sized, but they were not guest star in credit. And then I auditioned for this show on this network before Netflix is really what Netflix is. And that show was one of 2 first fully self-produced by Netflix in-studio self-produced shows. I don't know that if Audrey of that time were to audition for that same project, like with what Netflix is now and with what that is now, that I would have at that time even gotten into the room or even booked that job.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because it was kind of like it didn't really have the clout yet that it has now. And so I could sort of like swoop in. And then also it didn't have to go as well as it did. That project, just like so many projects, could have ended up a total disaster and never made a mark. I mean, Netflix has a show every weekend that literally, I think, has 52 shows a year, 52 new shows a year, right? So like, how many of those do you actually hear about? Almost none of them, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there is like a slipping in that you can kind of do, but this time to sort of say, I am worth money and you're going to have to pay me. And I want you to know I have booked 4 line guest stars. Mm-hmm. And I have booked multi-scene, multi-episode co-stars.
Yeah, it's such a... like at one point I feel like, I mean, it's weird. Even like the first show I booked, which was Major Crimes, it was like 5-page audition and, billed as a co-star. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, this is
weird.
I'm hearing that, but no, it's so weird because I actually have friends as well who they have 2, I don't know, maybe 3 lines, but they have 3 lines, but they have like 2 scenes. So it's a guest star. And I'm like, wait a minute, I just did a 3-liner on, such and such show. And it was a co-star,
Yeah. And can I ask you a very honest question about your friends who've gotten 2 scenes? Because I don't know the answer, but 2 scenes and billed as a guest star.
I know
what ethnicity are
they? They are Caucasian, yes. Yeah.
Isn't that heartbreaking?
It is. It's like you doing everything that you can and then it still isn't good enough. It definitely is. Yeah.
It's fucking enraging. That's what it is, right?
Yeah.
And this is so much of, I mean, and listen, I know Caucasian actors who do experience the same thing. So for everyone listening who's Caucasian, I want you to know if you are stuck in co-star village, like it happens to everyone. But also when you are a group that has been held out of storytelling for so long and how the door has been closed, that this attitude of like, you just have to be happy to take what you can get. Like you're not in a position to ask for more. Do you feel that at all in you, or do you feel you're getting any of that response from the outside world?
I do, honestly. A lot of it is you should just, be happy that you have an audition, and honestly, this is amongst other people of color. They're like, yo, we don't have a lot, dude. So you should just, we don't have a lot of opportunities. So you should just be happy with this audition and take it, it's, and I get nervous because I told my reps maybe about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years ago. And at the time when I had a manager, I let her know as well that I didn't want to go on any more thug roles.
Great.
Thug, yeah.
Because I was seeing you were going at a lot of them.
Yeah. So the first role I booked, Major Crimes, I remember being on set with Glenn Plummer, who he was a guest star. He's Black. He's been around for a while. And one of the things that he told me was, he was like, Mel, dude, your next 2 to 3 jobs are going to be more thug roles. And I was like, no way. Like, I don't look like a thug, And sure enough, like they were, literally they were. And so I got to a point where I was like, okay, no more the thug roles. Yeah. Because honestly, I feel like we are misrepresented in in this industry, not all Black people are thugs. And so I asked for that to be taken away, no more of the thug roles. And then I did see a
dip.
Yeah. And auditions, and that kind of, it scares me. So now I'm like, well, asking for, maybe no more co-stars. Where's that going to get me? But then also I'm like, I want to take risks. I feel like, I want to just.
And here's what I want to say too. You can audition for it as a co-star and have the conversation with your reps also about this co-star audition, because not all co-stars are created equal. Some co-stars are what we'll call world of the play. And so like if you had a co-star on the pilot episode of The Office, you probably want to take that co-star, because that means you're in the office, and then that's 10 years of work for you in the most memorable show in our lifetime, right? So not all co-stars are created equal. And there's some times where you can sort of see like, oh, is it part of the world? Am I in the world? Am I like a person who comes in and will go out and you'll never see them again? Or am I in Superstore and I'm a Superstore employee? Right? Yeah. So like you can start to see that there's potential for a coming in and a showing up in a recurring sense, because you have co-stars, but also a lot of co-stars go recurring, and recurring means something, right? Recurring is a little bit of its own leveling up. But if all the co-stars you're taking don't have recur potential, then that's something to consider. And so you had started also this podcast by saying that when you had reached out to me on Instagram, you wanted to talk managers. And so like, let's really talk about that, because I do think there's something in terms of what you can start to have somebody who has your back on some of this. Okay. Because it can be very hard to fight for yourself. I've had times in my careers. I mean, I will never forget my sweet manager. We went to this agent meeting and I brought this binder like I had always done of all of my headshots and like my resume and like all these casting director relationships, like this, like literally like a 3-ring binder. And I have it on my lap. First of all, she goes to the meetings with me because that's who she is. And I'm in the meeting with her waiting. And she's like, what's that? And I was like, oh, it's my binder. She's like, what's in there? And I was like, oh, and she goes, give me the binder. And I was like, what? And she's like, you are beyond binder. I need you to give me the binder, and I need us to never speak of this again. And then she held it in her purse and was like, bitch, binder is done. And I was like, okay. And so you need somebody to look out for you like that, because you can't always see it for yourself.
Yeah. But even that, like, she went to the meeting with you.
Exactly right. Exactly
never
right.
had anything like that. And that is... Yes. That's what I want. That's what I want in my next manager.
I want to say, and you deserve. You've earned it.
And I deserve, yes.
Like, I would bet on you. I mean, this is why I think you're doing really well. It's like, Audrey, would bet on you. I think that I would. And I think not only because of your talent, but your talent and your casting versatility, your comedy to your drama, and your work ethic, right? Like, I think you can work. I think you can work in LA. I think you can work now. And I think you can have large roles. So let's talk about it. So in terms of a manager, I think you should be seeking somebody out who will have your back on not going out for co-stars. And that if it is a co-star audition, that there's a discussion about it. And so it's like, you can say guest star billing, but I won't ask for the money. Not this co-star, because, somebody who won't exist in this show again. But then if you get something where they have potential to come back, call us.
Ooh.
It's a goosies, right?
I'm getting, thinking about, that's for me.
That can happen. Sometimes you need people to fight for you where it's hard for you to fight for yourself. Like that David White quote of, SAG isn't here just to protect you against your employers. It's here to protect you against yourself. Like you need a rep who, when it's hard to say no, because it's hard because you haven't had an audition for a minute, a rep who's like, no, you are beyond that. You are not doing that shit. No way.
Yes. Right? Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes.
To whatever degree this is helpful, I don't know. Taking seriously this thing that I've said in lots of the episodes, which is like, they will never offer it to you. You have to ask. And you have to ask for more money sometimes. You have to ask for better billing. And like, you've deserved it. And so the reason why you're not getting from what I can see of your work, the reason you're not getting better billing and better money from what you're doing is because you're accepting less.
Yeah. I cannot argue that. I think it's just knowing your worth, honestly.
And here's what I say, here's the thing. Let's look at reality.
Mm-hmm.
You have a reputation for fucking crushing a workshop. You do a workshop and you get a call that's like, you're a standout, and then you get called in. You do a monologue contest against like 5 million actors and you get picked. And then the person who picks you is literally one of the greatest legends in casting actually of all time. Like, you didn't get picked by somebody.
And she told me during the Zoom call, which I mean, just it boosts my confidence so much. She was like, I think you're series regular ready.
That's what I'm saying.
I was like, what?
If one of the greatest casting directors of all time, certainly living, legend, April is legend, right? Yeah. Is saying to you, your series regular ready?
Yeah.
Like, you need to take that seriously. And here's the thing. I understand humility. I get it. I really do. I get humility. And I think we should be humble about the actual work. I think we should be humble about like the art and the craft and be like, I'm going to do self-tapes for 2 years if I need to, like whatever it is.
Yeah.
But know the difference between like sell in terms of like, let's get more money because we deserve it. And like a humble attitude that can maybe get in the way of that versus like the humility towards the craft, the humility towards the work, the humility towards your relationships, all those sorts of things. And if you are a humble person, I think that's beautiful. But then also that may mean that you need a rep who's not so humble for you.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm just thinking about yeah, I think for me, it's everything you're saying is just on point, and it's honestly resonated with me. I'm a little emotional now because you're right. It's knowing my worth, and then just seeing like all the hard work that I have put in. Like, no one knows everything that I've been through, especially with this career, and just seeing things start to manifest. And I believe that's why I am feeling the way that I'm feeling, and why I feel like I deserve more. And it's not even me. Like, I'm not trying to say that I'm like the greatest. No, what I'm saying is I feel like I deserve a little bit more than what I've been getting lately.
Yes. That you've been accepting. You've been accepting what was good for you 2 years ago in the now, and you've done the work to be working at the level that you deserve to be working. And here's the thing, like, honestly, how many fucking years have I been like, self-tapes, you guys, you gotta do self-tapes. And do you want to know how many people are actually, I mean, like we had that one guest on who was like, I mean, Audrey, how many people actually will do that? And I was like, fucking nobody's going to do that. And he's like, right. But like, you are one of the very small handful of people who are like, all right, it's that. Then fuck yeah, let's saddle up. And then because you did it, you got the work. Like, that's somebody that I bet on. When we're talking serious regular material, that's somebody that I want to bet on that person in my cast, because I know they're going to do the work. They're going to show up. They're going to do what it takes. They are going to be humble on set. They are going to be gracious. They are going to be lovely people, because you're also a fucking lovely person. I want that person on set. And I also want the person who's going to get a fuck ton of rewrites last night and has to show up today fucking aces ready and does whatever it takes to get, and you are that person. I would bet on you.
Thank you.
A series regular is an expensive investment.
Yeah.
And you want to invest in somebody that you think is up to not just the task as far as being an actor, but stamina, attitude, care, kindness, generosity, protecting the work.
Yeah, I think all the work that I've put in, I know it was to prepare me for, this moment. And then it's like, when this moment hits, I'm in a place of, do I deserve it? And that's what I felt for the longest of time. And that's why I never spoke up about, hey, I would just take whatever co-star. But now I'm just, no, I don't want that anymore. I want more. And that is exactly the reason why I said I need to reach out to you because I just feel like I know for myself, I want more for me. And I feel like, again, I deserve it.
Yeah. Okay. What is the best part about the business for you?
Best part about the business for me is, coming from a sports background. So for me, it's seeing the growth from all the hard work that I've put in, as well as the circle of friends that I have. When one of us book, oh my gosh, it's like all of us booked, and it is the biggest joy because we know how hard we have been working.
Yes.
I'm learning now to just enjoy it, enjoy the ride. I know that there's going to be ups and downs with it, but I'm just learning to enjoy the ride.
I love that. And what is the worst part about the business for you?
The worst part about it is the doing your very, very best. Like I know this career, doing your best, like even in an audition, I do my very best and still don't book, don't get a call back, and so I think for me, that's the part that really eats at me. And that's why I know a lot of people say that this is a competition, but I don't really see it that way because usually I know when I do my best in any type of sport that's competitive, there's a way that I'm probably going to, not to toot my own horn, but and with this business, it doesn't work that way. And that's what I don't like the most.
Yeah, I definitely think that's how we all feel. It's how you can feel like you had some catches happening in May and June and then feel like, what is happening now? Totally get you. Okay, what do you wish someone had taught you or managed to get you to understand when you were just a wee babe entering this business?
There is enough pieces of the pie for everyone. So I don't need to worry about, don't get this job, then they don't like me, or basically what's meant for me is meant for me, and what's meant for someone else is meant for them. That's the only thing that I need to worry about. I don't need to worry about anything else. Yeah, I think that literally drove me crazy. I kind of felt like I had to be doing everything, acting, because if I didn't, then I'd miss out on some opportunity. And that's just not the case. And honestly, I mean, for me, that's not the way to live.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's not sustainable, I don't think.
No.
Yeah. All right. Last question, mildly interesting.
Right now, so with Chadwick Boseman passing, it was devastating for me because someone that I literally looked up to. When he passed, I spent 2 days in my room because it meant so much. He meant so much to me, especially for the African-American community. And also I've been off social media since. So I think it's been maybe about 2 weeks now. I had to get my mental health in check. And so my mildly interesting would be for everyone, make sure you take care of your mental health, please. It is vital. Buddy of mine, a lot of, I know you have a mixture of crowd, but for the African-American man, a buddy of mine, his name is BJ Williams. He has this Instagram channel called Can I Be Vulnerable? And it deals with people of color mental health, because a lot of times we're taught basically to suppress it, and it might not be, it may be indirectly, but it is something that, not really to show your emotions. And I think that does, it's very damaging. So I believe mental health is very important. And I feel like everyone should definitely get that in check.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. I think that's so true. I mean, I now more than ever, obviously, but one of the things I keep telling people, and I think I've said it in all the things I've recorded this far, but I'll say it again, that we're like, we do emotions for a living. If you're an athlete, you have like 4 people a day managing your physical health. Like they're like on your muscles, they're on your diet, they're on all of it. Like they are doctors, sports doctors, all of them, dietitians, and they're like looking at your physical well-being as the product that it is the instrument for the product, right? And I think the idea that we would do emotions for a living and then neglect that seems so silly to me, right? It's like, we're supposed to be emotional for a living, and yet it's like, no, I got that. I don't know that that's the smartest way to go about it.
It's not, honestly.
Thank you for that. We definitely need to continue to encourage each other to take care of your mental health the same way, like if you had an arm that just like couldn't pick up a cup, then like if your mind doesn't want your body to get out of bed, that's like if your arm was like can't pick up that cup, you'd be like, oh, I better get somebody to look at that arm.
Yeah, exactly.
And if your mind is like can't get out of bed, then I would say, yeah, no, treat that like you would if your arm wouldn't pick up a cup.
Yes, absolutely. It is so important. I mean, I can't stress it enough.
Yeah. Well, I am so grateful to you for your continual sharing of your journey, your vulnerability. I'm so proud of you for constantly showing up. Just so you guys know, like when I have things, when I like in the normal world, when I like have, meetups and things like that, and you guys show up, I see you. Like, I just want you to know, like, I see you. I maybe don't get to talk to everybody, but I really do see you. And I have seen you just taking seriously your work and your career and the access to information and understanding. And I think that it is really tremendous. And I'm so glad that you're taking care of your mental health, because if anything's going to get in the way of all of your hard work, it's going to be a lack of mental health. And that's true for all of us.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, Audrey, for honestly just being you.
Yes. Thank you.
You offer so much information and you offer it freely. So much can be said for that. It's just thank you for being a great human.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate you.
Next week on Audrey Helps Actors, we have Jamie Bear. OMG. I just want to hug her and cuddle her and just kind of like a little bit shake her out of love. When you like love something so much, they're so cute. You just like want to kind of shake them like really violently. So she's incredible. She's another actress who really just worked hard to get her shit together, and she is starting to see some major results. We talk about coaching. Coaching is a really important part for a lot of people's success, and she has really turned it around by implementing coaching, and I'm so proud of her. She just booked a huge job. I'm super excited for her. And then she booked some more, and then she booked some more. I'm so happy for Jamie Bear. Special thanks this week to Melvin Diggs. Melvin, I just love and adore you. Since then, I've gotten a really great update from Melvin. Melvin said, "Hey Audrey, I just wanted to wish you a happy new year. So thankful for you. You have no idea. I'm just reflecting. And since the podcast that we recorded, I booked 2 national commercials, one really big, pinned twice for 2 different shows. And I'm still waiting to hear back from one of them. And I think I found a really great rep to add to my roster. I was in a really challenging place up and down this year, and I'm in better spirits and optimistic for the future. I've been working with props on scenes and starting a Shakespeare class, and I just feel damn good. Thank you. Thank you, Melvin. I'm super excited for you." Special thanks this week and every week to Thomas Snodgrass for his incredible work with sound. Thanks, Tommy. You guys, Thomas loves to surf, so if you ever see him out there, just give him a little hang something sign with you do with your hands. Executive producer, Jesse Lumen, my still so handsome husband, getting more handsome every year, I should say. Show music by Ari De Niro, theme song by Aalok Mehta and 108 Hill, and editing this season by Taylor Martorana. Taylor! Crushing it. We are so excited to have you join our team this season. All right, you guys, don't forget your towel.